Welcome back to Design Build Workshop and the 3D printed HO scale factory build. This is actually going to be 1.5 of the series, so 0.2 is still going to come out and the other two parts after that. I just wanted to do a smaller section here because I went down a rabbit hole with the design aspect of this main factory building, and that's kind of the stuff I want to cover today. So we're not going to get in depth exactly on how I designed everything so it could be 3D printed, but I want to show you what I've gotten into as far as details, and then that's what this video is going to cover. So if you look at this screen right here that I'm rotating right now, this is what I have in the assembly so far. And above this screen, you can see I've got photographs hanging up that were kind of the inspiration behind my design, initial design of this particular build. So if I zoom in, this is the back side of the factory. And if I zoom in, you can see I've got details of, girders and I-beams in here to support the roof structure. So this is a whole lot of parts in here. Everything was basically printed flat, and that was for accuracy of printing, and then also for assembly. So this part is, this face right here is a separate piece. This is a separate piece. Well, not this piece individually, but this whole facade and this facade are separate pieces. And then the front of the factory, I did a detail, and I wanted to go kind of an Art Deco look, which is what we have here with this window and these V shapes right here. This is called the Empire Forging Company, and I'll explain to that a little bit later. These pieces are probably going to be copper, and I still need to work on rivet design on here, but that's something that may or may not happen. The roof is basically going to be clear. So it's going to be similar to that picture right there, where I've got the whole roof is basically glass. And so we're going to be able to see into the factory. And I will tell you what I'm doing with that at some point. And then, if we normal to the side here, I realize this is probably small on your screen, but I did add a number of details to the side walls. One side actually is going to have, these windows are going to be blocked because there are going to be puddle furnaces that are going to be hooked on one side, and I'll explain that later. Now if we go to this screen, this is where, like I said, I kind of went down a rabbit hole and I really started kind of working on interior elements as well. But I needed this for the roof structure. So this is basically the I-beams, or the girders that are holding up the walls and the roof. So there was just a whole lot of work and design work that went into this to get these done. So that's where this is at that point. And then of course the floor is completed on both sides. And then the next step is going to be sandwiching the roof in there. So I'm going to attempt to take you through this building. And like I said, this is the front facade. And if I take this piece, we can hide that component, and then I can do the same thing with the Empire Forging Company facade, this front piece. The door would be like a 10-foot door, so it's going to be a pretty tall door, and it's over 4 feet wide, just because it's supposed to be kind of a grander entrance. And we're going to hide this piece as well. Okay, that should open us up enough. I'm going to go ahead and hide this upper part too. There, okay. So now, as we're looking at this from the front, you can kind of see all the support structure that's in here and how it goes through. I'm going to have walkways on the interior. There's going to be equipment I'm going to print for the interior. I'm probably not going to go crazy into that for this build because I've got to design the other buildings. But like I said, I really got carried away on this one, and I tend to do that. I'll get involved in something and I just start getting more and more into the design. The big thing that I want to point out is details. And so like if you look at, I've got, these are like blocks essentially, right? And then of course, these are individual bricks. But the important thing here, the thing to think about is the detail work. So we have a piece right here that is proud and goes all the way across, right? And that's kind of like right below the window frame. And then the windows are proud of the brick, and then the mullions are set back from the window frame. And then I've got these pieces right here, which are printed into it. And that's just a detail. It's got a groove down the center. This one does as well. We have a half circle window here. We have some cement detailing that also is proud of the brick, but is behind these pieces which support it. Then we have up here, I radiused this so that you've got some curvature going on. You've got a flat face here, and you've got a radius going outward, and then another radius going back. So all that detail just makes it a lot more interesting. And I did the same thing kind of for the side. And so we've got this detail right here, which is similar to this. And then this is kind of done. I saw this in the design and I kind of like these pieces that stuck out like this. And I think it probably has something to do with rain. And so what I did below that is these pieces are actually grooved as well. And the idea behind that is maybe rain runs down those pieces there after it collects on the roof. The back is essentially the same as the front, other than it's simple. This centerpiece, right? We don't have all the detailing back here because it's the back of the building. This right here is still a little more ornate, but there's a lot of depth in here too. So this is one level, this is set back, this is forward of this, right? So we've got many levels, and then this is set back, this is the window frame, and of course the mullions are set back from that. So there's a lot of back and forth, and that just gives you more edges. Like if you're doing, weathering and that kind of thing, all those edges will catch. These rivets right now, I could probably make them smaller. So this is, on my design system, is 0.03 of an inch is what I've got these at right now. I could probably go 0.02, but when I printed that front facade, that had some rivets in it too, and some writing. You remember I said the forging company. Some of that didn't come out, and I think it was because it was just a little too fine. So that's something I need to flush out, if I can make these rivets even smaller. But right now they don't bother me. They're probably a little bigger than what they would be, but I'm okay with the way they look right now. So these pieces here are printed in one piece. All these little rooftop pieces. But like I said, I think I want to add rivets to the top banding here and here. So like this was assembled from different panels of sheet metal. And I think I'm going to go with this right now. I've got to be careful. I don't want it to look too much like a church. So I may change some of that design, but we'll have to see. The big ticket is going to be the roof. I'm very excited about having the roof be clear. And I'll show you that a little bit later and how we're going to kind of try to accomplish that. So this is what I have printed so far. So this is one of the front facade pieces for the towers. You can see the brick detailing comes up pretty well. The mullions come out pretty well. I've got to do a little bit of cleanup on this yet, but none of this has been sanded yet. So that's that front piece of the tower. And then let me find, I did this first for above that front facade centerpiece. And you can see there's like small little rivets in there, but this is way too thin. It came out okay, but it's just a little too thin for what I was looking for, and you really can't see the rivet detail. So that changed to this one, and then kind of the same thing. I didn't have enough detail through here. I just had the riveted section and kind of the half window. So that gave way to this one, which I'm a lot happier with. There's a lot more depth going on with this one. This piece has a lot more detail in it. I still may try to make these rivets smaller, but we'll have to see on that. A lot of pieces got printed. Here is the front facade piece. Came up pretty well, but you can see the detail with, you know, where it says Empire Forging. That didn't come out so well. I think a lot of it was because of the font that I picked. So I think I'm gonna pick a chunkier font, and I may try to get rid of some of the detail I put in here. I think the amble came out okay. It's still a little, you know, not so great. The idea was this is gonna be a bronze, you know, plaque on the front of the building. There's a lot more detail in here, like this is supposed to say 1820, and I think right below there was supposed to say company, but you can see that didn't come out at all. It just looks like scribbling. So that's going to have to be adjusted, but we'll go from, you know, we'll see how that goes. The Art Deco detailing is you've got the 3 layers here, this entryway, you've got the keystone up here, and then you've got this center window with those V shapes, which is a really, you know, kind of Art Deco kind of a detail. This is one of the side pieces. Pretty happy with this. This came out pretty well. The more detail you have, as far as like bricks and lines of whatever and blocks and, you know, mullions and window frames, all that kind of stuff, the less the printing of, you know, the actual deposited print shows up, right? So like if I just do a flat surface, kind of like this edge, right, you can see there's all kinds of like little, you know, texturing, right? And that's just from the printer. Luckily, one of these facade pieces, you know, goes like that, so it kind of covers it. So the more detail you can throw in there, the more you can avoid having to do with like sanding these flat pieces. This is the back. I haven't really decided how I'm going to handle the doors yet for the back, but the back is a lot more simple. 3 windows, fairly large. Some of the block detail is in there. And then the floor pieces are just floor pieces, right? They're just flat. I had to do it in 2 pieces because my printer's not big enough to handle the whole floor. This was the first attempt at printing that top piece. There was no support in here. Anytime you're doing anything that's curved or has a dome, you don't need support because the printer can handle that. And so we're going to get into that a lot more in some of the next videos, where I'm talking about things that say like the smokestacks. I'm going to have those hollow on the inside, and I'm not going to have the support because I'm going to basically put a radius in there, so it'll basically print without having an issue of support. So this one doesn't have the rivets on it, so that's probably going to change, obviously. These pieces are just some of the side pieces that on the inside that kind of, I think they go something like this, or maybe on the inside of the tower like that. So these are just simple pieces. Here's the trick that, you know, I was really excited about, and that is, you know, the girder, the support structure. I printed it in half. So this side is flat. This side's got all the detail. I wanted to make it so that I could put 2 together and basically, you know, glue them up this way, and then I've got one piece, right? So this would basically be like a, you know, a T angle that would go all around here. That's basically all riveted together, holding that up. So it's just a whole lot of printed pieces. The biggest thing, so here's like, this is like one of the side pieces. So that goes in like that, We'll sit back a little bit. The printing is not a big deal. Printing takes no time at all. I mean, a couple hours and you've got a piece. The big issue with time is the designing. The designing takes forever because everything's got to fit. So you've got to make sure your measurements are all accurate, which is one of the reasons that I've got the assembly so that you can see, okay, yeah, this is going to fit, this isn't going to fit, there's not interference here, I don't have an overlap. Because if you don't check that all the time, you're going to end up printing something and all of a sudden the model doesn't go together. So that's always something to think about. So I mentioned earlier about having the idea of having a clear roof or a glass roof on this. So I think what I found was this is basically half of a sheet protector for like reports or that kind of thing. Really flexible, but still fairly tough. And what I'm going to plan to do is basically form this over the top like so. I'll cut it so it all fits and everything. And then once that's in place, or once I have that cut the way I want it, then we're going to have pieces that'll be the outside part of the roof structure. So that'll be pieces that kind of follow this, and we'll have rivets on them, and then connectors that kind of hold everything together, and maybe some other shapes that kind of go in there as well. And then for these straight pieces that are right here, that'll be like a long piece that'll go along, the edge of each side of the roof, which will also be glass done with the same material. So hopefully that works, but we'll see what happens. The other thing I mentioned earlier was basically this is a puddled iron factory, and another term for that is wrought iron. So puddled iron was done by basically taking pig iron or cast iron and taking it through another process and making it more malleable. And that's what a lot of like bridge structures and all that kind of stuff early on in, say like anywhere from 18 whatever to early 1900s, most bridges and that kind of thing were done out of wrought iron. And that's where you see like a lot of riveted structures, that kind of thing. And so because I was a blacksmith for about 15 years, that's kind of why I decided to do this as a puddled iron factory. And the one side, I'm going to have puddling furnaces that are basically going to be where these windows are. So that's why I'm saying these windows are going to be blocked off. And that's where the stacks and the feeding for the pig iron is going to be for the puddling furnace. Anyway, that's about it for the progress on this. And I hope you enjoyed the video so far. Just kind of the quick update of what's going on with this design. If you've enjoyed the video and the beginning of this series, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time on Design Build Workshop.